Hey guys, what's going on? This is Athar here, and in this video we are going to look at token bound accounts, also known as ERC-6551. So a lot of buzz around ERC-6551 was there a few days ago, and I literally missed the video creating a video for you guys. So here is the video. So what really are token bound accounts? So token bound accounts are accounts that are underlying within an NFT. Not really exactly literally like that, but there's an account that is owned by an NFT which the NFT owner can control. It's useful in a lot of different cases, especially in places like Lens Protocol where you get NFTs for different followers and stuff. You can simply have one Lens Protocol NFT, like your Lens Protocol profile, which you already get, and within that should be a token bound account where you will have all the follower NFTs. That will keep your NFT collection a lot cleaner. So that's the main idea behind token bound accounts, and there are a lot of different things and use cases which are associated with it. So in this video we are going to look at how token bound accounts exactly work, how do they work behind the scenes, and we are going to write a simple script in which we are going to create a token bound account and do some transactions with it. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so we are going to take a look at a general structure, how these token bound accounts work. So let's imagine that you have a few NFT contracts. So let's build this. These are NFT contracts. Let me just copy paste this once more, and we are having this so big because we are going to have token IDs within them. So let's make token IDs. So suppose this is token ID 1. Let's copy paste this to be token ID 2, and then we will need the same token IDs for the second contract. Let's name them quickly. So token ID 1. Now let me get this to center. Let's copy paste. Let's label this as token ID 2. Now I can simply copy token ID 1, paste it here, token ID 2, paste it here. I'm doing all of this just to explain you guys. So if you think that this is going way too slow, feel free to skip within like 10 seconds up and down so that it's way more speedier for you. So yeah, now these are the NFT contracts. Now how token bound accounts usually work is like these NFTs are not really accounts by themselves. There is a separate registry for ERC-6551 contracts. So there is a contract that acts as a registry. So we are going to name this contract as registry, and this one keeps records of all of the accounts that are made. So if I make an account for token ID 1, there will be a record for this one. We are not going to label it, but there is going to be a record for this one. Then the same is going to be for this one, and same can be the same for the third one. And if you don't have an account for fourth one, it's fine. We're just going to leave it empty for now. So imagine that there is no token bound account linked for token ID 2 of the second contract, but all of the rest have, and that is completely possible. But if you make it on a contract level, that after each NFT is minted, there is an account created, you can eliminate this step, and you can also have compulsory account creation whenever an NFT is minted. But generally you don't really have to have an account linked, because if you have an NFT contract even before ERC-6551 was released, you can still create a token bound account, and that's the beauty of it. Now how does the account work? This is just a registry, right? Where are the accounts? Now we have accounts deployed as separate addresses. So imagine this as an account, and we can have these for different token IDs. I know my face is here, but I think you should be able to see pretty much. Now we are going to have this as account 1. You know what, we don't need to label them as number at this point. You can just call this as account. Let's copy this, paste this, let's paste this again, and yeah. Now what's happening here is that the registry is able to create a contract. The registry takes the details of your token ID, then it creates a contract, which is also an account, and this token ID, the owner of this token ID has access to this account. So if you transfer this NFT to somebody else, you can no longer make actions through this account. But if you are the owner, you can always make actions through this account. So this is how it works. In token ID 2, we have the same thing. You can do the same thing basically. I just made this to show you that even though there are different contracts for different NFTs, you can still do the same. So this is how it works. So you must be wondering, like, what is this registry? Where does it come from? Like, do you have to deploy it by your own? In most chains, like in the token bound account website, if we go to the token bound account website, we can see what chains they already have a registry on. So let's open this website. Now there must be docs here somewhere. Let's click on learn. Let's go to docs. Now here you can go to contracts and deployed addresses. So these are the chains where we already have the registry deployed. So for example, for testnets, we have Goerli Mumbai, Optimism Goerli, Base Goerli and stuff. But on mainnets, the list is pretty less. I mean, they both are pretty much equal. But if you have a custom chain like a Holisky testnet, by for example, which is not listed here, what you can do is you can simply deploy the registry there, and you can work on it. But where you already have a registry, you don't need to deploy a custom contract. Of course, if you have any private logic, you can feel free to do so, but they are just recommending that you use the registries in most of the scenarios, which we are going to use in this tutorial. So yeah, so this is that registry on each chain. And by the way, the cool thing about it is that all the addresses are same on the networks they have deployed it on. So yeah, so basically this can be linked on any contracts, as I mentioned, even before ERC-6551 was introduced, and that's very useful. And we are going to see, we are going to create a script with which we are going to create an NFT contract. We are going to link one of the NFT to a token bound account, and then we are going to create another NFT to transfer between our main account and our token bound account. We're going to also see how we can pass transactions from a token bound account to any other account. So we are going to also make transactions using that token bound account. So yeah, let's get started with the craziness. Okay, so we are in our terminal. Now let's go ahead and create our first script. So let's create a new file first. So we are going to do mkdir ERC-6551, and let's go to ERC-6551, and now let's do pnpm init to initialize our Node.js project. Now let's install some dependencies. So pnpm install, we are going to do third web dev SDK latest. We are going to have ethers at 5 because this works the best with third web. We are going to use third web to interact with our contract. So if you already don't know about third web, you should go and visit thirdweb.com and check out their SDK. It's pretty cool. So we also need one more package called .env to manage our environment variables, and I think that's it for our packages. Now let's hit enter to install them. And after this, we need a couple of dev dependencies to use TypeScript. But if you are willing to use JavaScript, feel free to use that. I'm just comfortable with TypeScript, so I am using it. Okay, now it's done. Now let's install dev dependencies. So pnpm install -d specifying dev dependencies, and we're going to install TypeScript and TS Node. If you're using JavaScript, feel free to skip this step. Now let's wait for this to finish. It should not take a lot of time. Perfect. Now let's open it in Visual Studio Code. Let's for reload. Perfect. Let's get this to full screen. Now we also need to run one more command, by the way. So let's go to warp again, and let's do tsc npx tsc init to initialize our tsconfig file. So let's wait for it. Oh no, it's not tsx, I'm sorry, it's tsc. For whatever reason, pnpx wasn't working with tsc, so I used npx instead. So yeah, now it's created. Now let's create a new file called index.ts. By the way, we also need a .env file, and since we are going to have a .env file, let's also, okay, it's working very slow. Let's also create a .gitignore file so that we don't accidentally push our .env file. So we are going to have .env, and then we are going to have node modules here as well. Perfect. Let's have two things here. First of all, we are going to need a wallet private key, and the next we are going to need is third web secret key. So the reason why we need this key is because ThirdWeb provides its own RPC. So if you don't want to use their RPC, you can always provide your own. But since we are going to use their RPC, we need to provide a secret key to their SDK. So if you want to use your own RPC, skip this test and you can provide your RPC later. But you can go to thirdweb.com, you can go into the dashboard and you can get the key. I'm going to create a video about ThirdWeb later, but this is how you can do it. I'm going to close this file and I'm going to enter my environment variables because I don't want to show you my credentials. Now let's quickly breeze through this file and see how we can use token bound accounts. Now, first of all, we are going to initialize a few things. So let's import .env from .env. And let's configure it. So .env .config, that's going to load all the environment variables and we are going to have access to all of them. Now we are going to need a pig, so which is going to have all of our contract addresses. So these are I have gotten these from the ERC-6551 website, which we just took a look at. You must check this website and see if these contract addresses are updated in any way. We are not going to need the proxy one, but I just have it in the case because they had it listed in the website. So always check if they are obsolete. You can always change them. So I don't know, my voice is cracking so much. Now let's create a function async function main, sorry. And this should be an empty function for now, and let's call main here. Now let's see what we are going. So we are going to use a lot of await here. So we are going to make an async function and we are going to just execute it because we are not allowed to use await top level. So yeah. Now first of all, let's initiate the ThirdWeb SDK. So this is the code to initialize the ThirdWeb SDK. We are going to do ThirdWeb SDK. We need to import it first. So let's import it. Now ThirdWeb SDK from private key, we have the private key stored in the environment variable. So we're going to do process.env.wallet private key exclamation mark to denote that, hey, this is existing and there are not going to be any type errors in the future. So we also have our network, which we are using Mumbai in this case. If you want to use any other network, feel free to use that. Then we have the secret key, which we got from the ThirdWeb dashboard. So yeah, this is the configuration we need for the SDK. Now what we can do is we need to deploy an NFT contract for testing. So we are also going to link this NFT contract to our token bound account. So this is how we can deploy. Okay, what's happening? Okay, so how to deploy? We can just do sdk.deployer.deploy NFT collection. So ThirdWeb already has a set of contracts which you can use. So they also have an ERC-6551 contract built in, so you can automatically deploy using this function. You can just provide the name of the collection, description, and the primary sale recipient, which is going to be the address for which you have provided the private key for. In my case, it's just a test private key. Now what you need to do is you need to first console log that hey, the contract is created now, so that we can keep track of the progress at all times. Now what we are going to do is we are going to mint an NFT. So let's do that right now. So this is the code for minting an NFT. So what we are doing here is we are just getting the contract from the NFT contract address we got before, and we are initializing the contract within ThirdWeb SDK so that we can interact with it. Now that we have the instance, we can simply do NFT contract.erc-6551.mint, and we can just provide the name of the NFT and description. If you want, you can also have an image, but to make things simpler, we don't have an image here, but you can always have that. So this is how we can create an NFT, and this NFT is going to be linked to our token bound accounts in the future. So now what we are going to do, we are going to link this NFT. So first of all, we are going to get the ERC-6551 registry. The same way how we got our NFT contract here, we are going to do the same. So ERC-6551 registry contract await sdk.get contract, and we are picking up the registry contract address from our config, and we're just passing it as a custom contract. In this case, we had passed it as an NFT collection, which is a ThirdWeb pre-built contract, but this is a custom contract. So yeah, now what we need to do is we need to create an account using the registry. So we are going to do this thing. Now what's happening here is, first of all, we are executing the create account call create account function here from the ERC-6551 registry contract. The first is an account implementation, which is this address. So this is going to be the actual account which is going to be created. So we are just mentioning that, hey, I just want this implementation and create a new account for me using this implementation. This is the salt. This is used for prediction of addresses and stuff, but I just have something random. If you want, you can have a proper salt here. The third parameter is chain ID. This also support cross-chain stuff, so I just use the chain ID which the third web SDK is initialized on, which is Polygon Mumbai. And then we have the NFT contract address and the token ID. The same parameters goes for the function called as account, which is a read function which gives us back the contract address which is created for us. So yeah, this is how it works. Now once the account is created, we can simply just get that we can simply initialize that contract in our third web SDK. We use this call just to get the address of our token bound account so that we can initialize it later. So let's initialize the contract right now. Perfect. Now this contract is initialized. It's basically a fully fledged account which we can use, and we can do basically literally everything with it. So we just need some console logs here now. I know I'm going through a lot of speed right now, but it's just that I'm assuming that you know pretty much a lot of different things about Ethereum already, and you don't really need to think a lot about how things work in Ethereum. So yeah, these are the console logs we are going to have: TBA address, and which is the token bound account, and we are just going to console log the address out so that we can search it on the Explorer and inspect it. And then we are going to do an action like transferring a dummy NFT to our token bound account. So these are going to need this is going to need two steps. First of all, we are going to need to create an NFT inside the same contract address, and the second is we are going to need to transfer that NFT to our token bound account which we created. So now let's create the NFT and transfer it. So this is going to be the code. In the first one, we are creating a new NFT which is going to be transferred, which is specified in the description. And then we are just going to call the transfer function, and we're just going to pass in the TBA address so that this NFT gets transferred to the TBA address, and we're just going to pass in the token ID. And yeah, just a console log to confirm that it's being transferred. Now what we are going to do is we are going to transfer from our token bound account to main account. Now this is a little tricky because you cannot just simply have a smart account instruct that you need to pass NFTs back to us. It has an execute function which is very tricky. So let's go back to a browser here for a second, and let me just copy this address first. Account implementation. Now let's go back to browser again. Let's go to thirdweb.com/Mumbai/ and let's paste this address. And since this is the account implementation, we should have exact same methods, so we don't need to worry about it. We are just going to look at the functions we need to execute here. So let's go to the Explorer tab. It's loading. Now validate user op is of course for like smart account functionality and stuff, but we are going to use the execute function. Here the problem is that we need to pass in the data. Like we cannot just type in English data like transfer this token ID 12 back to my main account or I will kill you or something like that. But that doesn't work like that. So we need to encode the transaction before we send it. So encoding the transaction means that we get the data in the bytes form. So let's do that right now. So we can encode the transaction using this. So what we can do is we can call the NFT contract, and it has an object called an encoder which has a function called as encode, and then we can simply encode any function of the contract and just pass in all the parameters. So we can just do transfer from, we can pass the to address, we can get No, we can pass in the from address. We can just pass in the to address and the token ID. The from address is TBA address. The to address is our address, the private key address, and the token ID is token ID. Yeah. And now, how do we send this transaction to our smart account? So like, how do we make this transaction execute from our smart account? So now that we have encoded the transaction, what we need to do is simply execute the execute function from the smart account. So what we can do is we can just pass in the to address. So this is the contract, this is the NFT contract. We need to indirectly make a call to the NFT contract through the TBA contract, and then we are going to pass in 0, which is the value in ethers, and encoded transaction is the transaction we just encoded. So it just provides the instructions that what we have to do, and this is some kind of operation which is used for smart accounts. We're just going to leave it 0 for now. How did I know the parameters for this? You can just go back to the browser and you can simply get it from here. You don't need to have native token value. You can send it if you want to, but you don't really need to. So back to our code. Now the console log says that TBA to account transaction hash. So basically this should work. Now let's go back to our terminal and let's start the script. So before we start our script, we need to create a start script in our package.json file. So let's rename this to start, and we are going to have TS node in action here. So TS node index.ts. Let's save this file, and now let's go back to our terminal and let's do npm start. Now this is going to take some time, so I'm going to be back. Okay, now we have our transactions done. Now as you can see, we have the last console log saying TBA to account transaction hash. So this means the NFT was transferred from the TBA to a private key account. So let's take a look at this transaction. Let's go back to our Edge browser. Let's go to mumbai.polygonscan.com. Let's just go here, and we are going to go to the home page, or we can just search here and just go to that transaction hash. Now you can see that this is a testnet transaction. Then we have from address, and then we have the to address. So now we are going to see from where to where the NFTs were transferred. Now, as per our understanding, the NFT should be transferred from the token bond account to the main account. So let's check our browser console. What's the address ending for token bond accounts? So it ends with F31. So yeah, it ends with F31 and it's sent back to us. How do we know? Because we just passed in our own contract, our own private key address here, somewhere here. Yeah, sdk.valid.get address. So yeah, in this video we saw what are token bond accounts, what are the different use cases, what is the importance, and how you can use it. If you found any value in this video, make sure you click the like button, leave some comment, and hit the subscribe button as well. Subscribing is free. It helps my channel gain some traction in the algorithm. And if you feel like you don't want to see my content anymore, you can always feel free to unsubscribe later. So yeah, what do you think about token bond accounts? What do you think? Are they useful? Are they useless, or are they just a gimmick? What do you think? I want to know your opinion. In my personal opinion, I think that they are great. They can help be a storage for a lot of different things. So for example, if you have a game, you can simply have an NFT containing all of the different kinds of weapons, I guess, or different kinds of collectibles, and then we are trying to sell that account. You can simply sell that NFT which contains all that stuff. So it's going to be a lot more convenient to have a token bound account, and it's going to save a lot of time and also going to save a lot of space in your wallet when it comes to collections scattered around. So yeah, so that's my personal opinion. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.